I'm Justin Mott and welcome to my home in Hanoi, Vietnam, and today I'm going to talk about advice for interns, advice for photography interns. Any field, it really relates to anything. Photography interns who want to go work in a studio, out in the field, any genre of photography, any age intern too. You're never too old to be an intern, restart your career, things like that. So this is my advice for interns out there. Stay tuned to hear the advice. All right, so let's start with picking the photographer you want to intern for. First of all, don't get mad if you don't get your choice. Not every photographer out there has an internship program. Not everyone has a paid internship program. Some have unpaid. But some photographers don't have internships posted. Some have them posted. Some you don't think they have an internship program. But if you email them and ask, they might never thought of it. Like for me, that's what happened with me. I had people reach out to me and say, hey, I'm in Hanoi, live here. Can I just come learn from you? While I wasn't looking for someone, I had paid assistants at the time. I had them come on board and it worked out great. So sometimes photographers aren't even looking for that and they don't know, but you send a nice email and right timing, right place kind of deal, and you can get an internship for photography. So how to pick the photography you want to work for? How to pick the photography you want to intern for? Now you can look online. Some photographers post these things, some don't. Some have paid internships, some don't. I'll get into that later about paid internships and unpaid internships. I know people get really tense and really aggravated. It's a very polarizing topic. I'll tell you why I'm not so against unpaid internships. So you might want to get mad now and start typing in the comment section. But how to pick the photographer? Your first reaction is going to say, well, I want to pick a photographer whose career I want to mimic. So you might say, I want to work like these kind of assignments for National Geographic. I'm going to try to email that photographer. Chances are they'll get a lot of emails, a lot of requests, and chances are a lot of photographers that work off on their own on assignments don't necessarily even need an intern. They might need an intern on the back end for help with their archive and things like that and selling prints, but some don't. Some are just in the field often and they don't need an intern. So yes, it can be very beneficial to work for a photographer in the exact same field you want to, but it can be beneficial to work in a different genre as well. Early on in my career, I started in documentary photography and photojournalism. I could have benefited quite a bit working for a studio photographer, working in a sort of office area. I know it doesn't sound great working in an office area, but seeing how a photographer runs their business, the back end of the business, something that's very important. Something, no matter what field of photography you're going to go into, if you're going to make a career out of it, you're going to have to learn it. So don't necessarily limit yourself to just okay, I want to do weddings, so I need to work for a wedding photographer. Look at a photographer who's busy, look at a photographer who's successful, who has a great system all around, great marketing, great presence online, getting a lot of work, that kind of thing. Look for a photographer, it doesn't have to be the same field, just look for someone sort of successful and look for someone that maybe you can grow into. Some of these big internship programs, you might even get lost. You might end up just doing office administration work. Now you can learn some things like that, but some photographers that aren't as big or not as big of a name, you can learn a lot more from them. You might even be able to go and shoots with them. You might get to do a lot more work than you would with a bigger, huge name photographer working for like Vanity Fair or something like that. So try to find that balance. Don't get discouraged if you don't get that big internship program and things like that. You want to learn from someone who's busy. You don't want to go intern for someone who doesn't have any work to do at all, because probably not a photographer you want to learn from, but it doesn't have to be the biggest name in the world. And do different internships. Maybe use one that you can learn for the business side of things, one you could learn about networking and things like that, social media presence. There's all different things you can learn, but just don't limit yourself. Look for different photographers that you can learn different things from. Okay, so how do you reach out? How do you contact them? How do you ask? It's a big pet peeve of mine, and actually it's what sparked doing this vlog right here, because I do get a lot of requests. I live in Vietnam, but I get a lot of requests from the States or even from other places in Southeast Asia saying, I want to come to Vietnam, I want to intern for you. How do I do it? Great. First, don't expect a direct message on social media to be quickly answered, and don't expect it to be the only way you're going to communicate with someone. People from my age, people that you probably want to go intern for in their 30s or 40s, probably have a history of communicating important things via email. It's okay to reach out on Facebook or on Instagram, but use that as just a stepping stone. And don't be mad if they don't get back to you. But a formal email lead to probably a formal job, a formal hiring. So I got a message from someone recently. They sent me a private message on Instagram. I won't say their name. They said, hey, I like your work. I'd like to assist or intern for you. That's it. And then I was on a shoot. I was busy. So I didn't get back to them for 24 hours. The next day, I got a message from that same person saying, didn't hear back from you, guess I didn't get it. Wow, geez, take it easy. What a turnoff that was. Even if I was interested or was looking for someone at the time, the fact that they were so impatient, the fact that they expected me to get back to them, the fact that they were so entitled was a huge turnoff for me. I don't care, they could be a hard worker, they could have great work, didn't matter. Instant turnoff. Now I was polite and responded, gave a little advice there about maybe, hey, don't expect people to get back to you right away, 24 hours on an Instagram message. I know it's a new world where everything's instantly communicated, but keep in mind, if you're younger, you're communicating with photographers like me They're a little bit older that might be used to, if they're busy, and hopefully they are, they might not be able to get back to you right away, and maybe put a little more into it, a little more effort into it. Say what you could provide for them. Say when you're looking to work, ask if they're actually looking for someone first. Start a conversation, then have that conversation lead to a phone call or lead to an email. If I were you when I was starting off, I'd want to have a phone call with someone. For me, from my side, if I'm hiring an intern, I want to have a conversation with them. I want to hear from them on the phone. I know it's a little bit outdated, but I like to make a phone call, make a connection, hear someone, have a Zoom call or have a phone call to see the person, have a human connection. Don't be so entitled, send a nice message. That's a bad example of how to get an internship because again, I was immediately turned off. Now a good example would be, I had an American photographer who was living here in Hanoi and he started with an email and his first email was, how can I help you? That was great, that made me open it. You know, it was a clever subject. I do get a lot of emails, I do get a lot of requests for these things, but that was clever. I knew, okay, he wants to help me. Now an internship is a two-way street. I want to help him as well. You know, it was a nice message. So I opened it up. He was saying, he was eager. You know, I want to learn everything. I can help you with anything. I'm okay with doing everything. It was such a nice email. Got everything out of the way, short and concise. Didn't really care about the quality of his work. It was really good, but that's not important to me. I'm not having him shoot my assignments. I'm shooting my assignments. I want someone that can help me with commercial work and post-production, lighting, carrying things, editorial work, things like that, you know, like social media and stuff like that. So someone that's well-rounded, someone that wants to learn, and it was a give and take conversation. I want to teach the person and I want to know their skill set and I want to know what they could do for me as well. So what a great way to lead. And that person ended up interning for me, and within a month, you know, it was really cool. That happened really fast. I wasn't actually even looking for an intern. I was just really impressed by the email. I was really impressed by his attitude and his ambition and his willingness to learn and willingness to kind of do whatever within our company. And, you know, within a month, that guy was traveling and we were getting him paid as an assistant on shoots in Beppu, Japan, pre-COVID, just before COVID. Went to the Maldives on a hotel shoot with us, and we went to Great Barrier Reef in the Hayman Islands in Australia for a shoot. So that was pretty cool. All because he wrote a nice email and because he had a great attitude, had nothing to do with his work at all, which again, was really good. Now let's get into the paid internship and unpaid internship sort of debate here. Here's my thoughts on it, quickly. I would love to pay an intern. Early on in my career, when I had my business, I would have loved to have a successful business where I could afford a paid intern. Now, photographers are coming and going a lot. Some have a buzzing studio, it's busy all the time. I understand why they should do a paid internship and make a lot of money. A lot of freelance photographers, sometimes have a busy month, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're not looking for an intern. Interns come to them. So I had interns come to me and say, hey, listen, do you have any paid internships? I'd say no. Then they'd follow up and say, do you have any unpaid internships? So if you wanted to come and work for me and learn, I could teach you. My thoughts on it, if I could get a job where I could build a client for them, great, I would get them paid. That's the way I would work. So people get mad about that. I understand that. If you can't afford to do an unpaid internship, totally get it. I couldn't afford to do that when I first started, but I did. I didn't do any full-time internships. I did part-time work. I offered my services to go on a shoot in India and help out and learn whatever I needed to do. I was carrying tripods, setting things up, you know, just grunt work because I wanted to learn video. Doing okay in my photography, but I wanted to learn the video side of things. And this was a Discovery Channel production. So they paid for me to go to India, didn't pay me anything else on top of that. That was fine. I reached out to the person that owned that video production company. I'm the one that went to him and asked for the works. And the last bit of advice I'm gonna say is when you're working with a photographer, especially the unpaid internships, is you're helping them out as well. So don't be afraid to ask questions. For me, I get caught up in my work, I get caught up in the moment, I get caught up in running my business and all the things that go into being a photographer. It can be quite stressful on shoot days, but don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, that's the important thing. I think that if you're in a good program, working for a good photographer, they're gonna wanna teach you, and they should wanna teach you. And if they're not the right program for you to learn from. But I love it when people ask me questions. I think a lot of photographers get scared, a lot of interns get scared. Ask the nuanced questions. Sure, you wanna know a little bit about pricing, a little bit about pitching and quotations and all that stuff. Even the little nuanced things when you're on shoot, like why did you say that to the model? What were you doing there with the client? How did you change the direction of the shoot because the client wanted one thing, you thought something else would be better? How did you do that? What was your thought process there? Ask the photographer. I wish I could have picked someone's brain in real time when I was just starting off. I wish I had all these answers. That's the benefits of doing an internship, is to learn these little things. So then you have those in your tool belt later when you're your own photographer, when you have your own studio, your own business. You know how to handle these situations. I had to learn a lot of these things on my own. You might not want to ask the photographer right in the moment if they look stressed, but you know, after the morning session or something like that and you're at lunch, talk to them. Take mental notes or take physical notes if you have time to do that. You're supposed to be doing other things, do it. Another tip I would say is just have a good attitude. Be okay with doing everything, be okay with working, be proactive, be okay with working long hours. Sure, don't be taken advantage of. A photographer with a good attitude is a photographer I'm going to refer later on. Again, the quality of the work, that can get better, but even if their quality of work is really good, but I see they have a bad attitude or I see they're lazy as an assistant, then I'm going to assume they're going to be lazy as a photographer. So I'm always taking mental notes of those things. And when I refer people later on for a job, I refer people I know in person. If someone came and worked for me and I knew they were a good person, way more likely to refer that than someone that I'm just friends with online. So that's going to be how you're going to get jobs. Trust me, it'll pay off later. I get my interns a lot of work. They'll cut the line. They didn't have to go through a lot of the stuff that I went through because I've referred them. So those are just my thoughts on internships. This is to a lot of college kids just getting out there and not knowing what to do with their career. I would just say have a great attitude, be polite, make sure to work your butt off, find a photographer that's the right fit for you, find a photographer that you can do things for them and they'll teach you as well. And again, don't be so caught up if you can't get the photographer. You always wanted to work for Annie Leibovitz. Okay, fine, but it's probably gonna be difficult. If you don't get to work for her, that's okay. You can learn a lot of other things from other photographers out there. Thank you guys for tuning in. And again, that's not just for college students, it's for anyone else. Whatever age you are, I think you wanna change your career, go for it. Be okay to intern, be okay to assist. Let me know how your experiences go in the internship field. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear your best internship stories, your worst internship stories in the comment section. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.